16th or 17th Board of Education meeting. We have a quorum and we'll be ready to proceed. To start, Eric Cuddy is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. Place the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, entertain a motion to the board. I'd like to amend the agenda tonight. By doing so, I'd like to, first of all, remove the hearing of delegation from Fairmont Elementary School. I'd like to move the public comment section until after comments from the City Council to allow more time for public comment.
We have a motion to amend the agenda. Is there a second to amend the agenda?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Cuddy?
Yes.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Chair Powell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Butcher?
Yes.
Secretary Linkus?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Our first item of business for today will be our consent items, and we have 3 on there, I believe. Minutes of January 20th, financial reports, surplus items. I have a motion to approve consent items.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Secretary will call for the vote.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Secretary Linkus?
Yes.
Mr. Cuddy?
Yes.
Chair Powell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Butcher?
Yes.
Okay, our hearing of delegates has been postponed, and comments from the public have been moved under new business. Policies on first reading, it seems like we discussed these for such a length of time that we thought it was really on the second reading, but it's the first reading, and it pertains to insurance management, bereavement leave, staff time schedules. Motion to approve those 3 policy revisions.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All right, I have a motion, second, no discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Powell?
Yes.
Secretary Linkus?
Yes.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Vice Chair Butcher?
Yes.
Mr. Cuddy?
Yes. Thank you. This time we'll have a report from our director of school.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I want to go over a couple of things. First off, I'd like to kind of bring you up to speed on our progress at the middle school. We've installed and had grouted in 150 micro pylons. These columns will support the foundation of the primary building center, which we have come to call the classroom wing. We're currently excavating and installing reinforcement steel for the foundation. Weather has slowed progress in that portion of the project. Once the metal is in, we will begin to work on pouring the foundation. The firewall between the gym and the art resource classrooms is currently being erected. In the meantime, a parking lot has been built to support activities in and around the campus. The new lot is at the corner of College Street and Columbia Street. There is a significant amount of mechanical and electrical work underway at this time in the gym, in that portion of the building that used to be the old band room. These projects will provide power sources and HVAC support to the entire campus once completed. The $20 question, work on the gym and our progress there. We've almost completed the demolition phase of the work there. We've installed floor joists in preparation of pouring our expanded gym floor. We have masonry work for locker rooms and bathrooms and stairwells underway. The construction manager is committed to maintaining our schedule to put the gym back into operation by the fall of 2020. There's a large amount of material and equipment that's being fabricated for the gym at this time. At Tennessee High, there are a couple projects underway. Projections for the outward trim work around Tennessee High, particularly Viking Hall, will begin this spring with an anticipated completion time of late summer. Additionally, we have bid out and expect to complete work in the alleyway between the main building and our career technical education wing this summer. We're still working through the process for replacing parts of the roof at Tennessee High. We have met with the architect that has designed them today. The secure entry at Holston View Elementary is expected to resume work and be completed over spring break while faculty and students are out of the building. We're completing a number of painting projects across the district, and there are a number of electrical projects underway, including theatrical lighting at both Holston View and Haynes View Elementaries. We continue to work on improving energy efficiency also at Tennessee High. Recently, we had a series of water testing conducted across the district. In an abundance of caution, we have conducted retesting of those water sources in the building that scored higher than 20 points per billion. The 20 points per billion standard is what the state recommends. We adopted and applied a higher standard of 15 parts per billion, as it is the same standard that our water authority is held to coming into the building. Those sources of water that failed to meet the standard have been taken out of service immediately. Those sources have since been retested, and those without a passing score will remain out of service until a plan to address that water sources can be developed and implemented. We have made sure to report to county and state health officials of our findings, and we have also sent out notifications to families in various schools about our findings. It should be noted that none of the water coolers in our schools, where students typically drink, failed. The water sources that did not meet the standard were described as classroom sinks. The next area I'd like to talk a little bit about is our strategic plan. We are working with a group called SCORE, which stands for State Collaborative on Reforming Education. We're doing that in partnership with them. We've had several formational meetings with leadership team members to examine the process as we go forward. Within that framework, we will have a number of focus groups that will begin to provide feedback as it relates to our mission statement and the goals of our district going forward. Those meetings began earlier today with teachers and support staff at Tennessee High School's auditorium. A second group, made up of principals and assistant principals, also met later in the day, and their insights and thoughts were also collected. Tomorrow, SCORE facilitators will meet with central office leadership folks in the morning to give them an opportunity to contribute to the conversation. On February 21st, a student focus group will convene early in the morning at Tennessee High, followed by a parent group in mid to late morning. The afternoon group will be made up of business and community folks that will be meeting, and that will be held at the Bristol Library. There will also be a number of select individuals that will be meeting between the 18th and the 20th. We've also made available the data for the postcards that we received back when they were made available to the community as part of my Look, Listen, Learn, and Lead initiative. The input was reviewed and synthesized previously by the central office leadership team and shared. SCORE is a highly respected Tennessee educational entity that many across the state turn to for data-driven decision-making. We are certainly proud to have the partnership with them as we move forward in this important work. By the numbers, The SCORE 2020 Index of Educational Data has just been released. This comprehensive look at the public schools of Tennessee provides K-12, post-secondary, economic, and civic measures. From these data points, we are examined in each system that they offer also takeaways from. So we'll begin by taking a look at the K-12 measurements. The K-12 measurements included 3rd grade reading proficiency rates, 7th grade math proficiency rates, and those students scoring a 21 or better on the ACT. According to SCORE, our school system had the 4th largest decrease in its 3rd grade reading proficiency among black students in the state. We had larger than average growth in our overall 3rd grade reading proficiency. As a district, we scored at 42.1% proficient. The state average, by the way, is 36.9% proficient. According to SCORE, our school system had larger than average growth in our 7th grade math proficiency rate, specifically amongst Hispanics. Our system had larger than average growth in the top 20% in overall 7th grade math rates. We scored at 44.3% proficient. The state average is 33.6%. Also, according to SCORE, Bristol schools had the 2nd largest growth in our percentage of black students, Hispanic students, and Native American students scoring 21 or better on the ACT in the state. We had the 4th largest percentage of black, Hispanic, and Native American students scoring at 53% of our students overall performing at or above the standard. The state average was 41.7%. The second area that they measured and compared all school systems in Tennessee on was post-secondary measures. This second area included a couple of different areas. They want to know enrollment rates, but more importantly, they want to know what our completion rates are. According to SCORE, Bristol City Schools had the 5th largest decrease in our post-secondary enrollment amongst black students, Hispanic students, and Native American students in the state. But as a school system, we had post-secondary enrollment rates in the top 20% in the state. According to SCORE, 70.1% of our graduating students went on to post-secondary education of some type. The state average was 63.2%. According to SCORE, Bristol City Schools saw larger than average growth in our post-secondary completion rate, specifically among black students. Our school system saw slightly less than average growth in our overall completion rate at 29.1%. The state average is 28%. The third area that they measured was economic and civic measurements. When comparing all of the school systems in Tennessee, it should be noted that these measures are only available at the county level and are presented in the county for which we reside, so in this case, Sullivan County. The areas included opportunity for youth, income, and voting. SCORE defined this as teenagers and young adults between the ages of 16 and 24 who are neither working nor in school as opportunity youth. Sullivan County had about the same number of opportunity youth as a typical county in the 1st Tennessee region. Our county had more youth in this category than the average county in the state. Our county average is 18%, the state average is 12.6%. So we have an opportunity here to show progress in providing opportunity for young people, which is why we've placed such an emphasis on career technical education. Income. Sullivan County had the 2nd largest household income in the 1st Tennessee region. The county had a lower than average household income rate when compared statewide. Sullivan County average household income, according to SCORE, was $42,251. The state average was $48,708. In the area of voting, Sullivan County was in the top 20% for voter turnout in the state. It had the third highest voter turnout in the 1st Tennessee District. The Sullivan County voting rate was 57%. The state average was 54%. They had outlined 3 or 4 takeaways. Bristol City Schools has a smaller enrollment than a typical district in the 1st Tennessee region, but is larger than a typical district statewide. Our student population has fewer than average Black students, Hispanic students, and fewer than average English learners, and a greater than average economically disadvantaged population. Through the work through our community outreach program and in partnerships with a number of community agencies, this city has been committed to offset those disadvantages. Bristol City Schools has the 4th largest decrease in its 3rd grade proficiency rate among Black students in the state. We had a larger than average growth in our 7th grade math proficiency rate, especially among Hispanics. Our school system saw larger than average growth in our post-secondary completion rates, and we saw slightly less than average growth in our overall post-secondary completion rates. And the 4th takeaway was that Sullivan County had about the same number of opportunity youth as a typical county in the 1st Tennessee region. But Sullivan County was in the top 20% also in voter turnout in the state. And finally, in terms of future partnerships, I'm pleased to share that in a recent meeting with the president of Northeast State Community College last week, we are exploring partnerships between our 2 organizations. And among them are conversations including a future teacher collaborative, more joint career technical options, as well as an early college program that we think may have potential to reshape the conversation about who gets to go to college and who doesn't. We hope that there will be more future meetings as we move forward on that. That's what I have at this point for the official part of the report.
All right. Thank you. I was especially glad to see that our 3rd grade reading scores are higher than what would be expected, and that's Katie Ward. We say thank you a lot for those Reading Buddies program. And also, it's been this way for a long, long time that we have a higher rate of I guess, low income status. Socioeconomic status is a problem for us, and we work on that, and we all know that students from socioeconomically disadvantaged families have a more difficult time in school. And that's why the reading programs are so important, that's why these special programs are so important, and we will continue to make an effort to make sure those programs are fully funded to its greatest extent.
Mr. Chairman, I neglected to also share some attendance data because I think it's important being in the flu season, and I omitted that. I apologize. I wanted to point out that during the 2018 and 19 school year, our system attendance average for the school year was 95.32%. At this point this year, our average is 95.65%, or 0.33% better than it was at this point last year, with 4 schools showing growth: Anderson, Fairmount, Tennessee High, and Tops, all having higher attendance rates. We did see minor drops at Haynesville, Holston View, and Vance, but none of them were at even a percentage point.
All right, thank you very much. Vince, do you have anything for us today?
No, except for next Wednesday, the 26th, we'll have coffee with the mayors downtown at the Foundation Center and discuss any issues with our downtown, and so everyone's invited. It's at 8 a.m.
Are you having donuts too?
I'm sure they...
Okay, at this time, I'd like to insert a comment from the board, okay? Because I'm speaking on behalf of the Board of Education. I want to take a moment and address the recent media reports regarding the director of schools. The board and I are very well aware of the media stories and other issues raised by members of the Bristol community. We take these matters seriously, and we have already sought the advice of the board's counsel as to how best proceed. As most everyone present likely knows, the Director of Schools has a contract with the board through 2023, and that the contract comes with certain legal rights and responsibilities. So, while the board and I want to ensure these matters are taken seriously, we must also ensure that they are all properly and thoroughly vetted. Over the next few weeks, I have asked our attorney at Lewis Thomason to conduct an outside investigation into the concerns raised regarding the Director of Schools. Once the board has our attorney's investigative report and recommendations, we will reconvene and address the Director's future with Bristol City, Tennessee schools. To help make sure the investigation process unfolds fairly for all involved, the board has also been advised by counsel not to make any further public comments on these matters. Again, the board will publicly address these matters in the near future, but we cannot do so based only on stories, allegations, or even rumors. We must have facts. And once we have all the facts, the board and I will be prepared to make an informed decision regarding the director and his contract. I know there are likely people in attendance tonight who want to speak publicly about this situation. Though you will all be asked to keep your comments to 5 minutes in compliance with our standard policy, the board will respect your right to speak and will listen to your concerns. Please also respect the board's right to refrain from responding until we have received a thorough investigative report and recommendations from the council. Also, before we go to this next section, which is comments for the public, I should comment that our policy allows people to comment about items on the agenda. This item is not on the agenda, although I guess I just put it on. We're still going to honor the courtesy of listening to you. We would ask you to be respectful and to everybody that speaks, regardless of what they may say, and try to keep this small room with this large gathering in a just respectful. I ask that. We do have security, and if I get out of line, you can throw me out of here. Okay. So this time, Rebecca, we have a list of those who have signed up to speak. You need to keep your talk down to 5 minutes. And do you have somebody that's going to do that? Oh, we're in good shape here. Our first speaker on the list is Mark Hutton. Mark, you want to come forward or stand where you're at?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, School Board. I'm here this evening as a parent and as a leader in this community, and I'm here because I am Viking proud. But I'm here to speak to you as a citizen. I'm here this evening because decisions that are made by this board and only this board, I'm here because of the concern that stems from those decisions. I'm here to speak to you because our students and their families, our teachers and our community have been impacted, and they continue to be impacted by decisions the board has made. I believe that many within our community have lost faith and confidence in our school board because of things that have taken place. That loss of confidence can be directly linked to the decisions this board made by not looking thoroughly and fully into credentials, and that's where my concerns are based. My concern now is, as it's always been, I simply asked what I thought was a very simple question. I asked where, what, and when a degree, a doctorate, a PhD, was earned in an accredited academic institution, and why that title was still being used. It's even on the agenda tonight. I wanted to know where, through what accredited institution was this doctorate, this PhD earned. I thought it was a simple question, so much so that I called our chairman
and our vice chairman and even the director of schools on January 30th and asked that question. I won't go into the response I was given. Perhaps there was a decision made before the previous election, the last election, that a terminal degree or a doctorate was not something that was necessary for the director of schools. I find that odd that our board would not want the person leading our school system to have earned the highest degree possible in education or in any other field. That decision really isn't the issue here, but it rests on you, and it has seriously impacted our community. And I was also told that it wasn't a requirement during this whole discussion, that it was a distraction, it was not important, and that it was interfering with our school system, this whole issue over the academic credentials. I was also told, I think as many other people were told, that it wasn't even a consideration in the job process and the hiring process. And then I came across an article from the newspaper in September that said when looking for a candidate, that the board had many priorities beyond experience, but that Mr. Sisk would likely be the most experienced and credentialed director of schools Bristol, Tennessee City Schools has ever had. I find that an issue because our last 4 directors had an EDD, a doctorate of education. And then it became, I became aware not very long ago that actually throughout the contract, it actually calls for Mr. Sisk is referred to consistently as Dr. Sisk in his contract. So I think that it's hard for me to concede that the credentials weren't taken into consideration, given that it's in in that context. When I asked our board chairman and vice chairman where the doctorate came from, I was told they didn't know and that it didn't matter because it wasn't part of the process. But it does matter. It matters a great deal when a person who is asked where they earned their doctorate doesn't answer the question. It matters a lot when someone puts credentials down as a part of their signature. It matters a great deal. Thanks to the media, we have an answer. Granted, they had to issue a Freedom of Information Act request in order to obtain that information, which should have been easily and readily available for anyone. But now we know that the degree, at least from what I've heard, is from Ashwood University, although I've not received any official word from the board as to that's the case. That's what we're going on, and that's what was reported through the media. I'll not say anything about that online entity at all. Thank you. I won't even call it a school because it doesn't operate and never has operated as an accredited university, which was something that was exposed in 2004. We haven't heard very much from the board, and I understand that you've got reasons for that, legal reasons, but it does concern a great many of us. And now tonight you're telling us that you want us to continue to entrust this process to you, that you will do due diligence when it doesn't seem like through the hiring process due diligence was done, and that's concerning. I think from my perspective it seems like there was some hope that this issue would just go away. I was told that some of you were planning to stick behind the director no matter what, that you were going to wait and see if this whole thing will just go away. Well, I can promise you it's not going to go away. That there are people in this room who are seriously concerned about this issue because it speaks to a matter of character and integrity and honesty. That's what the issue is. It is for me and I think for others. Our students deserve better than this. Our public, our people, our parents, our families deserve better.
Time's done. Thank you very much. Jim Arnold.
I decline my opportunity to comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Our next would be Katie Stigers.
Even though it doesn't sound on?
It doesn't.
Testing. Okay. I mean, the light's on. I trust it. It's very nice. Thank you, Mr. Pyle, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to speak sort of out of order in the interest of hearing parents. I'm a parent of students at Fairmount Elementary and Vance Middle School, and I consider it a privilege to send my children to this school system. The quality and its reputation made it very easy to choose to move to Bristol when we relocated almost 9 years ago. And when they graduate from Tennessee High, I know they're going to hang their diplomas with pride. My concerns today relate to the board's pursuit of and oversight of areas related to our stated mission. There are several areas that the mission statement highlights. The ones that I am most concerned about today are that excellence requires investment, fostering growth of character and values is essential, and stewardship is important. Several other parents and residents have shared their concerns with me, and due to family obligations or work couldn't be here tonight, so I feel like I'm here for them too. When my 13-year-old daughter read the recent news stories, she said she felt something wasn't right. She's learned from her teachers and the schools that excellence requires investment. Last summer, when the school board engaged a search firm, last week was quoted as stating to a Herald Courier reporter that they hadn't really done any due diligence related to the candidates that they recommended based on their professional qualifications. They said they hadn't looked into it, they simply trusted that the previous school system had done that job. This concerned me. Funds were expended for this firm and they haven't been well spent. This doesn't uphold the principle of stewardship. Nameplates, business cards, letterhead, digital material, all has to be redone at expense to someone. The school system, taxpayers. This is not upholding the value of stewardship. Another tenet that I mentioned is that our mission statement includes fostering growth of character as essential. And I appreciate Mr. Sisk upholding this value with his honesty about the misuse of an academic title. It is important to me that the Tennessee Code, our legislature has adopted a code of ethics for educators, and it states, my prop here, that the education profession is vested by the public with a trust and responsibility requiring the highest ideals of professional service. In the belief that the quality of the services of the education profession directly influences the nation and its citizens, the educator shall exert every effort to raise professional standards, to promote a climate that encourages the exercise of professional judgment, to achieve conditions which attract persons worthy of the trust to careers in education, and to assist in preventing the practice of the profession by unqualified persons. I am not an educator, but my mother, my sisters, my cousin, my aunt, many people in my family are professional educators, so this means a lot to me. That's section A. In section B, 1, 2, and 3, the code states, in fulfillment of this obligation to the profession, an educator shall not, 1, deliberately make a false statement or fail to disclose a material fact related to competency and qualifications in an application for a professional position, 2, misrepresent the educator's professional qualifications, or 3, assist in the entry of the profession a person known to be unqualified in respect to character, education, or any other relevant attribute. 4, knowingly make a false statement concerning the qualifications of a candidate for a professional position, and so on. If someone applied for a job at a university in Tennessee, misusing a credential, misusing the letters for your credential would be considered a misdemeanor. I think this is incredibly important for the board to consider. And I ask that the board will increase the prominence of this code of ethics and how it's presented in the school's employee and board handbooks, where it is cursorily referenced at this time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my concerns here. I am grateful that those of you I could correspond with last week took the time to write me back. I appreciate the time that you dedicate to our students and our teachers, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you now.
Thank you. Next on the list is Corey Smith.
Good evening. Thank you, board members, for allowing me this opportunity to stand before you as a parent of 2 students who are in the Bristol, Tennessee school system. I'm not going to speak publicly about the heart of the matter or the grave concerns that I have regarding the issues that have transpired over these past 2 weeks. So instead, I'm going to directly speak to you all. As elected public officials who are ultimately responsible for the effective operation of our school system, you have been given the responsibility to reinforce the mission and goals of Bristol, Tennessee City Schools, including policies that provide direction for our educators. I've reviewed the belief statements that are outlined under the mission statement on the system school website, and one in particular that stands out to be very appropriate and very important standard for our children and community, just as you mentioned, fostering the growth of character and value is essential. As leaders in our community, you set the tone for our administrators, teachers, and staff who are responsible for educating our students. I've witnessed firsthand how hard our teachers work at instilling in their students the importance of character development, especially honesty. My husband and I, as well, are committed to teaching our children about integrity and the importance of hard work, which unfortunately has become challenging in the current climate of an entitled environment. Let us not forget that our school system is the backbone of our community and the foundation of our children's future. I find that we are at a critical crossroad that requires your full, undivided attention in making the best decision for the community of Bristol. As outlined in the Boardmanship Code of Ethics you adopted from the Tennessee School Boards Association, please remember this standard in the next days and weeks to come. I will at all times think in terms of children first, always determining how my actions and decisions will affect the education and training of children. Thank you for this time.
Our next speaker will be C.J. Manahan. You got a dribble over there? Or you got
All right, I'm not going to use the microphone. All of you guys address the board and Mr. Sisk. All of you guys know me. I'm coming at this from a different perspective. I'm a teacher in the school system. I've been a teacher in the school system going on 16 years now. I have been a community member here for 25, going on 25 years. Derek and I went to high school together, played ball together. Eric and I, same thing. Mr. Pyle and Mr. Butcher were principals as I was in the school system as well. So as I come at this, and obviously Ms. Harrison, I've coached and taught your children as well. So I come at this from a little bit different angle. Much of this that's brought consternation my way is not just as a teacher, but I have all these other things going on as well. I am a parent of 2 children that are coming through the system. I also have coached multitudes of kids that have come through the system. And so when I get to this point, I see it from a personal perspective as well as a wider perspective. And here's something else to add to that mix. I'm also the local union president here, representing 135 teachers, who, as you can probably guess, I get more information than I can really do a whole lot with. Right? So when I'm faced with these types of things, I think back to when I came to Bristol. A little bit of background on myself. I'm not from here originally. I grew up in the Midwest, about 1,000 miles from here, but my dad works for Strongwell on the Virginia side, and we ended up here in that process just before my 16th birthday. So I remember what it was like to be an outsider in this town. I do remember that. Remember it well. I also remember what it took on my part to become a respected member of this community. What type of effort that took. How I represented myself in that case. And this is me at 16 years old, trying to figure out how to go from being a Midwesterner to a Southerner in that period of time. Imagine what that was like, right? So it took effort on my part, to be able to understand that in order to engender myself to this community, it was on me to do so, not the other way around. It was not the community's responsibility to embrace me, right? So I think, members of the board, Mr. Sisk, I think that's a point that we really want to put to you guys, right? It is not the community's responsibility to engender themselves to our leadership. It is the opposite, right? So take that to heart as this process continues. Right? That is one thing that I have absolutely heard from teachers and community members is this community values integrity. This community values truth. And if the leaders of this community don't represent themselves properly, then how are we expected for that individual or those individuals to represent us properly? Right? That's a huge issue. It's a humongous issue. So from a teacher's perspective, from a parent's perspective, and from a community's perspective, please consider that from what's happening outside, because we get insular here in that case. Again, that's another thing that I learned from moving into this community. This is a wonderful community, but you've got to earn this community's trust. And after 25 years of doing that here, quite honestly, I'm a little jealous of that. I'm a little jealous of that trust. Okay? And if that trust gets trampled upon or tainted, I take it personally. I take it personally. And as a teacher in this system, I think it's doubly important that we look at those things in that light. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Kathy? Okay. Sorry.
Not the first time, and it won't be the last. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience tonight. I don't take lightly the volunteerism and the dedication, and I feel sure the hours of sleep that you have missed this week and the last couple weeks. And as a community advocate, as a parent, as a volunteer in our school system, I thank you. I think me following Coach Manahan was serendipitous, because what I wanted to bring to attention was an article that was in the Daily Times, August 21st of 2019, by Amy Beth Miller. And quote, one option that worked well in Bristol, he said, he being Wayne Qualls, was an online survey. That received about 800 responses, about 60% from educators and the rest from parents and the other community members. They were totally blown out by what the people said we want to see versus what they thought. Technology ranked 9, trust, communication, and respect came out on top. Data analysis was number 8. I could not find those survey results. I would love to see more of those. I did participate in that, but I think speaking of 800 responses and that trust, communication, and respect came up on top speaks volumes. And I would ask, if not beg, the school board to take that into consideration as we move forward and resolve the situation at hand. Thank you.
Bridget Matthews.
Hi, I don't know if this is on, but I'm here, I'm the sophomore class president at Tennessee High School, and I'm here advocating for hundreds of students who know about the situation. This news is spread throughout Tennessee High School and even to the lower levels, all the way to some elementary school students, as some parents have said. And I find the ethical issues appalling, almost. Because even looking at Ashwood University's website, using the Internet Archive going back to 2004, you can see that it's on life experience. And even today, I can get a high school diploma for less than $300. I can get a PhD for $1,500, which is less than our early college program. That's what concerns me. Is that seeing something like this and then watching it be called a distraction? Well, I won't be here next week. I'll get my diploma tomorrow. I'll get my PhD tomorrow. I'll get my everything tomorrow, and we'll all be good. I wanted to say my piece, and I wanted to let it be known that there are hundreds of students who are also concerned.
As all the members I have on this list, I assume that's all who want to speak. I want to thank very much for your presentations. They're informative. I'm really glad to see our strategic plan used. Okay, spent a lot of time on those kinds of things. We need to look at them ourselves more and more, I guess. And we'll close that comment section. Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I'd just say thank you to everyone who's covering for Penny Jenkins, who I'm sure y'all know would not be here tonight. So thank you, Dr. Evans and Andy Arnold and Rebecca Craddock and I think a lot of other people. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
And I want to take this time to, as far as I know we've talked about a lot of things, but just to take this time to congratulate the following teachers being selected as Teachers of the Year. We have Christine Boer Anderson, Shannon Morey Avoca, April Stipes Fairmount, Whitney Maddox Vance, Carla Lilly Tops, and then also the following three were also selected as Teacher of the Year, but also nominated to represent the school system in this year's State of Teacher of the Year Award. That's Jennifer Hawthorne, Haynesfield, Tammy Chandler, Holston View, Michelle Phillips, Tennessee High. And so I just want to, it's being selected as a Teacher of the Year is an outstanding accomplishment, and I just want to thank all those teachers for their hard work and dedication to our students and our school system. Your hard work does not go unnoticed, and just keep up the outstanding work.
I would like to say it's, I can't say very much, obviously, but I'm encouraged always by the passion of people of Bristol, and because of your passion, the process will work. So I know I've made mistakes and I will continue to make them, but I do respect the thoughts and the comments that we have here tonight. I really appreciate that.
Yes, I'll say one thing, Ms. Matthews, I was honored to participate in a school assembly, I guess you could say so forth, a couple weeks ago with about 200 of her classmates fighting for what they felt was right with some ceiling tiles. And you did an excellent job, and I commend you on doing that. Not to thank everybody coming out tonight and letting us hear from you and hear your concerns. And teachers that are in the room, you do a great, great, great job. And I know you hear me say that every month, but I say it, it's no different than when I'm on stage and talking about the Lord. We say the same thing every Sunday, come to Christ. I'm saying thank you for what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and you're making a huge difference in the lives of our students. Thank you.
Tom?
Yeah, if I can, just a moment. One of the things that I want to be able to communicate to you is this. For 32 years, I have been working with young people. I, in fact, retired from Alabama before I came to Bristol. My qualifications to hold this job involve a number of areas. We're building a school. I have already built 3. I want to go see it's a matter of record so I understand the construction process. I've gone through 1.1 million square feet of instructional renovations. So I understand that. Workforce development in the SCORES report show that if we're going to break the cycle of poverty, you're going to want to move in a direction that gives kids opportunity so that they have job choices and create an environment where we're able to attract industry and other investments in the community. I've also had that record, and people can look at that record, the number of companies that have come, all right, the growth that we've had in career technical programs, and the difference that it's made. I could show you a video where the chairman of the county commission in Alabama actually attributed the growth to what we were doing in career technical education. In terms of opportunities here, in 4 months, we're already on the cusp of putting in place an early college program for our students. Not in one institution, but in 2. It'll be a first in Northeast Tennessee, where students like the young lady that spoke will have an opportunity in the 11th grade to start taking college classes. And those classes will lead to an associate's degree, not a certification. And that will be something that only a handful of locations in the state. In terms of trying to address the issue of trust and qualification, for the last 7.5, going on 8 years, we have seen growth, we've seen downturns, I've seen a number of different issues to work through. I've had to deal with controversy, I've had to deal with good times. I am experienced. And I like the fact that somebody pointed out that survey, because some of the data in that survey also included a desire to have an emphasis on creating a workforce that invests in the community. And so that was a theme. A couple people said, what have I invested myself? Okay. I have gone through a national superintendent certification process that only a relative small number have completed. That was a 2-year process that, you could say, well, it wasn't from a regionally accredited institution, so it shouldn't count. But yet those experiences empowers me to have those relationships to bring to bear resources that help the school systems that I'm working in. And I realize that some of you may shrug it off and not say anything, and I may fall on deaf ears. Some of you may genuinely listen and care about it. But the results are the results that I've been able to get there, and that's one of the reasons why I chose to come here and apply here, to be here. It's because I believe this community is ripe for an opportunity for expansion and growth. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm not trying to purposely mislead. Somebody asked me the other day, why wasn't the educational doctorate on the resume? I said, because I don't have an educational doctorate. I answered the questions, you've already heard it. But I also have 2 separate pursuits in my life, okay? Just like I'm sure some of you like baseball and maybe basketball. You have 2 separate pursuits. The work that I went through, you can say it's not valued, and you're right, it's not valued, okay? It's not valued. My ability to grade a coin or put on a show or offer instruction on numismatics has no bearing on my ability to be superintendent or director of schools. Has no bearing whatsoever. It doesn't, okay? But the experiences that I've accumulated in 32 years in moving a district in pretty rapid growth, that does. Those experiences in National Superintendent Certification and the Institute of Superintendents, those experiences do matter. And those are the ones that I've qualified most under. Do I have an advanced degree? Yes, I have an educational specialist degree from the University of South Alabama, and I'm sure that that has been corroborated. But the reality is, I have a certain skill set that I hope is the right fit here. But I also understand that when people feel like they've been purposely misled, it takes time to earn it back if you can. All I can tell you is that I want to roll up my sleeves and work with you to continue to move the district forward. I've made over 100 classroom visits from the time I've been here. And in doing so, I've learned a lot about the character of the teachers in this district. You talk about having a voice. The last 4 directors, how many of them had a teacher advisory council? how many of them involve teachers in the creation of documents. And you can shrug that off, but that's the experience piece that I bring. CJ, you spoke eloquently and you volunteered to be on a committee because teachers were concerned about the qualifications of the people that are cleaning our buildings. I gave teachers a voice. I gave you power and said, let's find a way to resolve that. That's because I've gone through those experiences and prepared. I met with student senators. I've reacted to. The student senators wanted a question about biodegradable plates and compostable plates because we want to talk about saving the environment. We made that happen. We had that conversation. And when it came time to roll out a conversation about early college, those students heard it first. And when there was a petition, I didn't just shut it off. I sat down with them and Mr. Cuddy in front of 200 of them. That is leadership, ladies and gentlemen. That's experience. Now, you may like it or dislike it. I can't control that. All I can tell you is that I have a heart for kids, and I have a heart for the work, and I think I have the right experiences to prepare the district. And so I'm not going to talk anymore about the numismatic. It isn't relevant to what I'm doing here. If you want to talk to me about my ability to be superintendent or director of schools, I'll be more than happy to show you those qualifications. More than happy.
All right. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 23rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.